in Poland and why the EU and other member states should be concerned. I will first start by, before I introduce myself and the actions and problems in Poland, by asking you a question, and you can scroll it down to the next slide. What are your associations with LGBTQ rights in Poland? Because I, of course, bring some material to you. I also invited our online guests to speak by video recordings. But first, I would like to ask you whether you have any associations with the LGBTQ rights in Poland. Yeah.
I mean, non-existent. and okay.
Yeah, I mean, in the ranking of ILGA Europe, Poland is at one of the lowest places. Any else associations? Yeah.
I do also remember seeing marches before government, but still under this government, also still remember seeing pride marches, people getting on the streets and standing up. But that was also positive.
Yeah, right. Good to mention something positive because yeah, actually the community is very, very mobilized. Any else associations? Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is also the thing that activists do. Okay, so thank you for those. We will speak about that sad perspective at first, so we can scroll down. So yeah, I am Dominik Kuc, and I'm one of the LGBTQ activists in Poland. Together with our team, we create every year ranking of LGBTQ friendly schools, and therefore my topics are mainly the education system, the schools, and the young LGBTQ persons. But we also cooperate with Warsaw City Council and the municipalities all over the Poland, and we give to the most LGBTQ friendly schools. Each year, we give the equality diplomas, which are signed by the municipalities and the non-governmental organizations that are our partners. So yeah, we can go right there. However, this session will be first I will speak about the violations that take place in Poland and that should be heard in the European Union all over the community. And then I will try to explain why the EU and the member states should be concerned in those issues. I also, as I said at the beginning, I also invited 3 speakers that will join us, I mean, online by video recordings. These are President of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, a member of the European Parliament, Sylwia Spurek, and one of the very young activists, Zuzanna Karcz. So, well, in the presentation, I will mention the 3 main violations that are really against not only the Polish, but also against the European order of law. These are, of course, LGBTQ free zones that you probably have heard about, and school discrimination. That is because we do a lot of research about it, and I can give you some interesting statistics, and the police brutality that also probably was heard by the European community at the European level. So let's start with the next slide. Let's start with the LGBTQ free zones, because to understand the origin, we need to mention also, yeah, that is correct.
Yes.
I just make an introduction because, of course, these recordings are like, just I need to explain what he will be talking about. And we need to understand the origin of the LGBTQ free zones. And that is something that was at first very positive, because the city of Warsaw in 2019, so before the first LGBTQ free zones were introduced to the local municipalities, the city of Warsaw has adopted the LGBTQ chart, which was worked with organizations, activists, and the president of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, and the Warsaw City Council. So let's start by that positive point, and then I will introduce how the other municipalities reacted to that. But yeah, we can watch the video. Yeah. Right.
Different people, one city. We want Warsaw to be a welcoming, free and safe place for everyone. The city of Different people, one city. We want Warsaw to be a welcoming, free and safe place for everyone. The city of Warsaw and the local government diverse residents are met. We as the city value solidarity understood as the readiness to take action, to support others, and to act for the common good. That is why we have been working with residents and community organizations to develop a social diversity policy. This document will guide Warsaw's efforts to promote equal treatment. We're currently preparing for the public consultation of this document. We hope that our diversity policy will provide genuine support to those who are discriminated against and who fight for the rights. Also, we have been working to gradually satisfy the demands put forward in the LGBTQ+ declaration. This year, I once again extended my patronage to the Warsaw Equality Parade, an event that celebrates equality, freedom and tolerance for all of us, young, old and families with children. I attended it because I believe it is important that we are open-minded towards everyone living in Warsaw. Gays, lesbians, transgender people are all part of the city. I realize how difficult the situation for the LGBTQ+ individuals living in Poland. They're one of the groups most likely to experience discrimination. Equal treatment efforts in Warsaw have taken on a whole new meaning in recent years as the ruling party continues to harass the LGBT community. Here in Warsaw, LGBTQ people can count on our support, including free counseling by psychologists and lawyers. We have opened an intervention hostel for LGBTQ+ individuals who are experiencing homelessness, run by the Lambda Association, the oldest organization in Poland fighting for equal rights. The establishment will start to provide accommodation to those in need in the coming weeks. And I wish to stress here our tremendous admiration for the young people who are increasingly bold in taking up the stance in public debate. It is them who are fighting for the rights and trying to change Poland. We as the city appreciate their efforts. Last year, we recognized and honored Dominik Kuc, the founder of the Equality Diplomats ranking, a student-compiled list of friendly and tolerant schools. Dominik Kuc received the Mayors of Warsaw's Tadeusz Mazowiecki Top Award for young people promoting civil society. He was recognized for his outstanding attitude in fighting for LGBTQ+ rights and making sure that Warsaw is an open, accessible and safe city for all residents, as well as for his active involvement in local government and participation projects in Warsaw. I believe it is these kind of efforts that lay the foundation for positive change in local government, inspiring both residents and officials, employees of Warsaw's institutions. The support for LGBTQ+ people we provide in Warsaw is part of a broader program to promote equal treatment for all the residents of Warsaw, especially those who are more vulnerable to discrimination.
We go back to the main presentation, and we can scroll down because Yes, of course, in 2019, as I said before, the Warsaw city has adopted the LGBTQ chart, stating that the city will promote diversity in terms of, for example, patronage from Equality Parade in Warsaw, the intervention hostel, and the free counseling, what was mentioned in the video. However, the nationwide reaction to the LGBTQ chart in Warsaw wasn't so positive, because the right-wing organizations made a totally different thing. The chart stating that the municipality is anti-LGBTQ or the LGBTQ free zones. So the so-called LGBTQ free zones are in reality the local laws adopted by the municipalities, either on the very local level, either by the whole regions, which are called wojewodenships in Polish. And those anti-LGBTQ charts can be divided by in three categories, because there are local governments that adopted anti-LGBTQ laws. There are the governments that adopted the chart of protection of the family, and there are the municipalities that adopted the chart created by Ordo Juris, which is one of the right-wing organizations. And it has to be mentioned here that while voting for or against in the local municipality, the discussion process and the consultations with the citizens are on the very low standard, because in one of those so-called LGBTQ free zones, the municipality did even not correctly wrote the LGBTQ acronym, because they changed some letters and they didn't really care what they are voting about. So what, of course, it sounds funny, but well, this became the trend for those local municipalities, because at some point they were, as those right-wing municipalities, they were just following the trend of voting in reality the local laws that are well, not to be, that are against human rights. And we can, yes, scroll down. The Atlas of Hate is showing which parts of Poland are covered by the LGBTQ free zones. Those red are those adopted by either very local municipalities or the wojewodenships. Those that are green are rejected by the municipalities, and those that are on the yellow, that this is in process. I mean, it is lobbied to be an LGBTQ free zone, but the voting process did not start yet, or this is the discussion or any consultation process. It is actually over 1/3 of the country, which is, I mean, in the European Union, the large violation of human rights, because when we think about it, the local law in the order of laws should not be over the Polish constitution and the European the European law, the European chart, those agreements that Poland has signed while entering the European Union, and that is why it is so non-understandable, because these are the charts that really should not be there because of the order of law. And we can scroll. So yes, that is the first what I mentioned, that the LGBTQ charts adopted by the municipalities are against the Polish constitution and the European law, but it has to be mentioned also what they are containing, what are the paragraphs while voting, because of course it is not that that it is like a single paragraph, but in the family charts voted by the municipalities, these are statements. These are only, how to say, the statements that are not the part of what the municipality really do, because if we think about it as well, the municipality should not be able to determine the things on the national level. I mean, it is not their role. But in the paragraph of LGBTQ free zones, there are paragraphs stating that the municipality, the voivodeships, is free of ideology LGBTQ plus, so the naming it ideology. But in the chart of family protection, there is also a recommendation, for example, for schools not to work with organizations that support the human rights, or the organizations that will enter the school and lead the workshops in terms of diversity education, the sexual education, and so on and so on. But yeah, it doesn't really have like the. It is not the role of the municipalities to address those issues. And we can scroll down. And of course, for those LGBTQ free zones, so-called, the European Union has already taken some steps. I mention here 3 of them. LGBTE intergroup in the European Parliament has sent to the municipalities that adopted the law, has sent the letters about the EU mechanism with the funds that could be cut when the municipality is against European law. Of course, the European Commission that is stopping the municipalities and the regions from obtaining the funds, and that is quite a recent issue, because in a week ago, or maybe like 2 weeks ago, the region of Małopolska, it is the southern Poland, has even knowing that the funds from the European Union fund can be cut, they did state that the anti-LGBTQ law will be still in measure. So even knowing that mechanism, they like assured the existing of this law. However, this reaction of European Commission has made some consequences in the Polish government, because some persons from the Polish government, including the Ministry of EU Funds, has made an appeal for those municipalities to get the law back. And of course, the European Parliament has adopted the chart of being LGBTQ freedom zone for the entire European Union. And we have another video recording by Sylwia Spurek, which is the member of the European Parliament, and she's like the Euro deputy from Poland, and one of those who made the most effort to fight the LGBTQ free zones in Poland, and she will explain the steps taken by the Commission.
The anti-LGBT resolutions adopted by Polish municipalities, regions and voivodeships to declare that they are free from a so-called LGBT ideology are a complex problem. However, as a lawyer and as a member of the European Parliament, I want to focus on the legal dimension of this issue and stress that the resolutions violate Polish and European law, as has been already confirmed by Polish administrative courts. This is why it is a duty of the EU to react. The European Parliament reacted immediately and adopted already in December 2019 a resolution strongly condemning the issue. Since then, the call has been repeated by the Parliament in the resolution of March 2021, declaring the EU an LGBTIQ freedom zone. The question is what has been done and what should be done by the Commission. For months, the Commission was only talking instead of acting. However, very recently, things finally moved forward. In July, the Commission initiated an infringement procedure against Poland for failing to explain the nature and impact of the anti-LGBT resolutions. The issue of suspending EU funds is also again at stake. The fight is certainly not over, and the EU still has a role to play in it.
Okay, just to finish the question, the infringement process is in progress right now, and the debate in Poland about the municipalities willing to take the law back. I hope for this that the argument of the EU procedure will convince them. However, we move forward to the situation in schools, and this is because it is also a current topic because of the ministry in Poland, Minister of Education, that is known for his homophobic, transphobic statements in the media. Minister Czarnek is, for example, known for its recent statement about the same-sex partnerships that do not exist in nature. He just said it to the right-wing media, what the Ministry of Education is trying to do in Poland right now is also affecting the non-governmental organizations to make interventions and act in schools, because the law proposed by the Minister Czarnek is stating that the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that are making the work with schools will need an accreditation of the ministry, which is, of course, which can be assigned by 90 days of the proposal, and that is a threat for the organizations that whose actions are about the interventions, the psychological help, and the programs about, of course, human rights, because they will not get an accreditation from the Ministry of Education. And of course, if we think about interventions in school, and for example, the very sad suicide trials, it requires intervention immediately, not the accreditation for 3 months from the side of the ministry. And we can move forward. But in terms of the education and the school system in Poland, we each year create a survey for young people that they can assess their own schools in terms of LGBTQ friendliness, in terms of openness, acceptance, and safety for their LGBTQ students. And from this, we have statistics that can be published. Because, well, from this year, we act on the national level. The students from all over the country could take place in this year edition of a ranking of LGBTQ-friendly schools. And these were actually 22,000 of young people that took part in the assessment, and over 2,500 schools that were assessed. So that is quite a huge number. And for the statistics that we revealed, 92% of young people know at least one person that is LGBTQ in their own schools, and 76% of young people see regularly the signs. I wrote the signs, but I mean for example, stickers, the things that we put on the back. I don't know the English proper name, in their own schools. However, to contrast this, only 26% of young people can rely on their teachers' help when while taking the LGBTQ issues, and only 21% of young people took part in the Rainbow Friday Day, which is one of the nationwide events in Poland for schools. And yet, those statistics clearly say to us that for the one part, those left ones, that the young people are really open and engaged for the LGBTQ students, co-students, and colleagues from the schools. However, the right statistics, well, state that the education system is not ready to be at the height of the issues and addressing properly the subject of LGBTQ persons in schools. And these are, of course, this year's statistics, but to be honest, each year, and we made the ranking since 2018, each year the statistics are different, and even those on the left side are increasing, those on the right side are stable, so the education system is not prepared to address the issue. However, just a positive thing in it, this year the ranking was won by the school from Dąbrowa Górnicza, which is a very small city, and of course, stereotypically, it is the Warsaw or the biggest cities that are the most open and the most tolerant. And however, the school from very small city from the south of Poland has won the ranking. So maybe that is a hope for the future. We can move forward. And I invited the third person to record. Zuzanna Kalcz is one of the young activists taking action in the school communities. She recently graduated from her high school, and we also have a recording right here.
Hello. And I am LGBTQ plus school ranking team. I believe in the idea of shifting the way our system works, currently focusing on basic subjects such as mathematics, science, and history, to a school that promotes student-teacher partnership and puts emphasis on the relationship between. As the Polish school is becoming even more diverse, including the increase in the number of non-Polish citizens attending in Polish schools, It is high time diversity was seen as a strength of a school's community, and that obviously includes the LGBTQ plus students. Back in 2019, a school in Wichita made an alternation to its internal law that was supposed to, as it was called, ban promoting sexual minorities in school attire. Proceeding bans on wearing specific clothes or symbols in schools seems to be custom in a wide number of schools in Poland. That is the first step of violating both constitutional and human rights in general. When it comes to the inclusion of LGBTQ plus youth in Polish schools, it happens to be one of the most controversial topics, as local authorities calmly precede the anti-LGBT charters in a number of towns and voivodeships. On the other hand, there is the Rainbow Fridays action initiated by the Campaign Against Homophobia that is held every last Friday of October. This way, students and teachers organize anti-discrimination activities to promote tolerance independently. Even though anti-discrimination education about LGBTQ plus in the Polish school system is not obligatory and it is highly criticized by the government, 20-year-olds are most likely to support the LGBTQ plus rights, according to a research from 2019. That is often described as the result of new forms of socialization that does not occur in the school itself, but takes part in the internet or on a peer-to-peer basis, so the young LGBTQ plus people are more likely to be accepted by their schoolmates than ever. Unfortunately, years of ignoring the significance of anti-discrimination education led to a near total intolerance among the parents of the queer youth. Around 88% of fathers do not accept their identity of the children. There are still a lot of actions to be taken to change the statistic, and that should definitely be started in the schools. Thank you.
Back to the presentation, and let me just comment it. Here it can be seen that these topics of those different looking issues. I mean, LGBTQ free zones and the schools, how they are really correlated. And well, during the making process of the ranking of LGBTQ friendly schools, we also did receive the messages from students that are in those LGBTQ free zones, from the teachers that just repeat them during the lessons that, well, the school is LGBTQ in the LGBTQ free zones. Please do not mention those topics. Please do not wear any rainbow stickers, etc., etc. So even if the law adopted by the municipality is not, it do not affect directly the persons, because theoretically it does not forbid the LGBTQ persons to live theoretically it do not affect the life of every day, but well, it affects indirectly, for example, by promoting those attitudes and by giving a permission for people being against and trying to put the anti-human rights attitudes. It serves as a justification, for example, in schools. And one of the school described by Zuzanna Karcz in the video, that was the school that in the school statute, I mean, is the term used in English, the school statute szkoły? There was a paragraph, the paragraph against the LGBTQ and gender ideology in the school. I mean, it was changed after the interventions. However, yeah, these topics are correlated. And the next issue that I did address is the police brutality during the demonstrations taking place, and of course it is also the thing that increased since 2019, particularly because of the equality march in Białystok. It has to be mentioned here that Białystok is the city on the very eastern part of Poland, and is the headquarters for the right-wing organizations, namely Młodzież Wszechpolska, Okay, I will not try to translate those names right now, but these are the very far right organizations that have a headquarters right there. And in 2019, it was the first equality march right there, organized by the local organization and informal group. And yeah, it faced very severe police brutality because the police did not really protect the participants of the march, and few persons were beaten and how to say that, thrown. The person cannot be thrown. I would like to say that rzucano w nich kamieniami. Okay, from the other side. I try to make a passive voice for that, but actually, yeah, sometimes I just making up my own grammar in English. Sorry for that. However, the next year, on 7th of August 2020, there was also an arrestation that took place after one of the activists, Margot, was arrested. There was a trial to arrest her, and the over 40 activists that were during the demonstration were arrested, were put by the police to the police offices, and what was shocking right there, that while arresting the people on the street, the police did not even inform where they are taking them. So there were the opposition organizations, the deputies of Lewica, deputies of Civic Coalition, and the Szpila Collective. The lawyers from those organizations and the deputies were first trying to even search where the people are in different police stations. Some of them were even outside the Warsaw, because first of all, just to make an intervention, they did require to know where the persons are. We can move forward. And yeah, that is one of the pictures from that demonstration. We can move forward. And even before those events, the case of Elżbieta Podleśna, that was discussed by the Amnesty International, the Netherlands, largely, took place even earlier, because in 2019, before the demonstrations in Białystok, Elżbieta Podleśna made the rainbow portrait with Hail Mary. The Hail Mary is a good translation. Yeah, okay. Just to ensure that I do not talk about non-existing things. Yeah, I mean, she just in the portrait of Hail Mary, she just put a rainbow backwards, and because of those told anti-religion and in Polish it is obraza uczuć religijne, and it is really that the religion sentiments of someone has been threatened. I mean, how the religion beliefs can be insulted. Of course, the police did intervene and woke up her at 6 a.m. in the morning because of the crime that she made, because she just put those symbols in Płock, one of the cities that she was currently in, and well, that was also the thing that could. Oh, yeah, that is exactly.
In the amnesty writing.
No, we can. Maybe I just put it right. Yeah, and I have that on the photo right there as well. Yeah, that is exactly the Elżbieta Podleśna and the portrait with Hail Mary that she created. Of course, yeah, I should mention here that Amnesty the Netherlands has reacted to that case, and for example, by creating the petition and by helping in terms of support and lawyers. We can move forward. Just to answer the question the question that was in the title, because well, I of course told some. I mean, I mentioned some 3 violations. These are not. This is not a complete list. I could speak more about it. But I also asked in the title, I asked the question why the EU and the other member states should be really concerned, because some could tell that, well, these are things that are taking place in Poland. Let's just, for the Polish debates to talk about it, and if that's happening in Poland, it is not right here. Let's just don't care. However, as the community of the European Union countries, every country did agree while entering the European Union, did agree for some contracts entering the European Union. I talk about the European law and the European order of laws, and the violations that take place. For example, especially LGBTQ free zones adopted by the municipality, but also some legal aspects of the education and the police brutality are definitely against the European law, and because of that, also against the common European values, because this is the question of dignity, human rights, and the European membership understood as values for all the countries. These are not only things that we can learn. I mean, we of course can learn during the lesson about the human rights. We can say, of course, we have human rights. We have the human rights here, human rights there, etc., etc. And this is what during the lessons in Polish school is happening. The human rights are part of the curriculum, and every teacher will say, of course, we have human rights. We have on the paper. But while learning about human rights, these are 3 things that are concerned right there. It is about knowledge, of course, because we should know which rights we do have. But it is also about attitudes. So the right attitude, for example, when the human rights are broken and when the human rights are threatened. Okay, when there is a threat for human rights, so knowledge, attitudes, and the experience, because we can have a capacity to understand human rights and to see the implication in the real life. So the teacher telling that, oh, we are in an LGBTQ free zone, sorry, you cannot have a rainbow sticker, is definitely not the respect of the human rights and human values. What then? I also got a question from the organizers team in the brief that we prepared before. What can be done by bottom-up activities? Because of course we are sitting here and reflecting. Oh my God, it is so scary. They have LGBTQ free zone. Oh my God, it is so shocking. They have like the lower percentage of the teacher helping students. And what can be then done while sitting here? It is about monitoring and spreading the information, because every time when the public opinion see the violations or the for example, statements made by some ministers, or the paragraphs from the school statutes or LGBTQ free zones, it becomes a discussion for that. And that is why monitoring, so for example, legal help and spreading the information, for example, in the media, it allows not to make some statements just by hidden, because they would prefer just to be hidden laws, just voted with no attention, no media attention, no European attention, because it would be easier. And well, it's not, due to the owing to the international help. Then educative actions and raising awareness, because when we spread the information, when we say that there are LGBTQ free zones in Poland, we just do not inform, we also give a value for that statement. It is informative, but also we give the value for that, explaining that it really breaks the human rights on the European level and the European law. We can move forward. I have some more. Strengthening the opposition for that. For example, that is what Amnesty International here did within the case of Elżbieta Podleśna. It is the strengthening of persons that are actively against what is happening, because I also met a stereotype. I mean, maybe not right here, but while being on outside the country, I also met the stereotype that in Poland everyone is so conservative and anti-women rights, anti-LGBTQ rights, religious, etc., etc. Well, it's not. And we also have a strong opposition that even in your associations that were given at the beginning, there is a strong mobilization of people in very smaller communities, the smaller countryside and cities that are organizing equality marches for the first or the second time in, for example, Częstochowa, Konin, Piła. These are the very small, not that small actually, but the smaller cities, not the capital of regions. What I should highlight: these are not capital of regions. These are just the cities in the voivodeship, and of course, advocacy at the European level and the cohesion of the EU as a community, because this is a reference to the values that are under those laws. The European law were not created on the basis that someone just sat up and wrote the European law and that's it. The law which is adapted for the for cohesion of the European member countries as a value had a basis of the common values and understood as a community, and that is why the advocacy here would be needed. And for the last, I mean, we have something like 18 minutes. It's time for the questions. If you want to like maybe elaborate on some point of the presentation or ask about something different, it is time also for you to ask the questions, because I just left those 15 minutes for the questions. I see. Well, at the time of me being for example, in the education level, or in the secondary primary school, there were no LGBTQ free zones, because I graduated in high school 2019. So in terms of proper education system, it did not really affect me, because we worked in Warsaw, and I mean, I met a few issues. I mean, tabooization of the topic in my middle school, or the teachers and school psychologists that were against the LGBTQ topics, women rights topics, and so on in the schools. But of course, it was in Warsaw, so I don't have that strong comparison between Warsaw and the smaller cities and the situation right there. However, as I mentioned during the making the ranking of LGBTQ friendly schools, we collect the responses from all over the country. Actually, in 2021, this was the first year of the ranking being at the nationwide level. So it was the first time that we collected the answers from all over the Poland, and the answers from the LGBTQ free zones were scaring, because of, for example, those teachers telling that please remember we are in the LGBTQ free zone. For example, the region of Podkarpacie, which is on the southern east of Poland, did not have any school assessed. The people did not really even want to take place in the survey, because the thing is that while making the ranking of LGBTQ friendly schools, we ask directly students whether they want to participate. These are not head teachers or teachers that, well, they would say, of course, our school is tolerant and everything is okay. We ask directly students to spread the information for themselves. And some of them did really not wanted to participate, and therefore the Podkarpackie Voivodeship, one of the conservative regions in the south, with the most high number of LGBTQ free zones, did not have any school assessed. Sorry for that longer response. Yeah, I mean. Can you just repeat a bit louder, because? Oh, how long? I mean, that is. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic for that, and I'm optimistic, for example, about the infringement process, because even when it is a threat to cut the funds from the European Union fund, it is a way to step forward on making the anti-LGBTQ local laws back. And of course, in 2 years there are nationwide elections taking place. First to the assembly, then to local governments, and then finally presidential. And the current president and few ministry and the governing party, well, probably it will be the opposition that will win, and that will facilitate moving taking a step back in terms of violations, because but I would say that I really hope for those elections in 2 years. But to that time, it will be hard to legally reverse it. I mean, if they do it themselves by, for example, pushed by the infringement process of the European Union, it will be earlier. But if not, well, we see in 2 years. Do you have any more questions? Yeah.
How did we get to this situation? What happened? Why are LGBT people seen as a threat by the ruling party? How did this happen, basically?
Well, it can be compared the discourse in, for example, Polish presidential campaign, or any political campaign that was taking place in 2019, 2020, can be really compared to the campaign in 2015 earlier, because in 2015 the right-wing party, Law and Justice, won because of few propositions as well, but the discourse against the refugees was really high at the time. I mean, there were statements against, there were statements of protection of the country, of closing borders, etc., etc. And they put that group of people, the refugees and the immigrants, like just living in Poland, as a threat for the rest of the citizens. And that is what exactly also happened in 2020 during the presidential campaign, because the strategy of the party was just to divide. And as they realized that it worked with refugees in 2015, they did the same thing, unfortunately, with LGBTQ persons. And they put the minority of LGBTQ persons as a threat for the rest of the society. And the discourse that was negative, and the statements that were made can be, I mean, someone probably did this in Polish media. They really compared the sentences against the refugees and the sentences against LGBTQ community. And for example, the current president did say that LGBTQ is not persons, it's an ideology. So it is the large dehumanization that took place. By step by step, by enabling the negative discourse, by creating a justification for the people that are violent, because there are people that are violent against LGBTQ persons, not only, but for example, LGBTQ persons, that the violence, I mean the physical violence, the psychological violence, but words, comments, etc., etc. It creates a justification for that. And there is that theory that I don't know if you heard about, the theory of the triangle of discrimination, that by first by creating the justification for those gestures, negative comments. Then we just go up to the physical violence, to dehumanization. So, for example, the statement of the Polish president, to the legal discrimination, and finally at the top is the extermination. It is not that step, but in those theory of discrimination, it is like the main concept is that by the even low steps, the small things, for example, coming by the gestures, the division in society, we go to the more serious cases. Yeah, I saw the question.
That God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and homosexuality is like an. And I went to the school psychologist because that's like. Well, this is not normal because I have a friend in my class who started crying because, her teacher said that. And my teacher and the psychologist said, well, she's been in this school for over anything. So what was just can the students in Poland then do something?
Yeah, if they are willing to, then yes, there are a few ways. First of all, is also always first advice steps is always in the school, because if the problem can be solved in the school society, then it is of course the most preferred option. If there is student rights advisor or for example head teacher that will just speak to the teacher, it is of course the preferable situation. But if not, the municipality can intervene. For example, in Warsaw we did like this, because there was actually one of the students who spread the information about the ranking in a Facebook group. So it wasn't really during the lessons. She was taken by the head teacher and told that, oh my God, what are you doing? You are promoting such a Sodoma and Gomorrah, and yeah, what we did was to invite the president of the Education Commission in Warsaw Council to speak with the head teacher. And after that intervention, it was no longer an issue, because it is the municipality that actually is the organ in the Polish education system. The municipality is the organ that is directly over the schools. There is no ministries at the last steps, but the teachers and head teachers are hired by the municipality. So that is the first step. And if not, there is also an ombudsman. I'm pronouncing it correct. Okay. I mean the ombudsman. That was Adam Bodnar, who was an online guest of this conference as well. But now it is Marcin Wiącek, which was happily chosen by the opposition votes, and the ombudsman also did made interventions for the schools and for the things like this. But it is the last step of that of those possibilities, because the most preferred is of course when the school solves it by themselves. We of course can and we have for example, templates for the documents and templates for the document for the head teacher, just to really describe the issue, and the other, just the legal templates for all the issues to be on paper, just to have the justification for everything. But yeah, the most preferred situation is under the school level. If not, there are actually a few steps. Sorry for that. I just longer responses.
I think we can take one more.
How should we? Yeah, should we just be happy with whatever support we get, or should we be looking for this kind of, full support?
Well, it is a very broad question, because as of my opinion, for example, I think that it is the question of the attitude of the person, because of course there are two types of person that you described. One of them being like a full allies, and one of them being okay, I can accept some things, but not, for example, the adoption or like something else. And for me, it is the question of the real attitude of the person, because if the attitude even of those persons that just are only supporting by, I don't know, 1%, and the other things not, when the attitude is positive, and when the person is willing to know more about, I don't know, the communities, the rights, and why it should really care, I think it is the person to work with. I mean, I would not reject the persons and if they have a positive attitude, for example, after some knowing of the community, after knowing the persons, they can be then convinced for the full rights option. Of course, the full support is most preferred, but we also make, as the non-governmental organizations as a whole, we make many educative programs, and one of the basic assumption of those educative programs are the attitudes. So the person can be unconvinced at some point, but with the positive attitude, it can be, it can be developed. And yeah, of course, there are maybe the people that would not agree with that view, but yeah, I would say that it depends on the willingness of the person towards the community, because the studies actually had shown, just the last sentence, I promise, the studies actually had shown that by knowing LGBTQ persons, the support rises. And for example, the people that indicated that they have the LGBTQ persons in the neighborhood are more likely to also support the laws. So yeah, that is tricky, and I would use that trend for knowing and for when the number of known persons rises, the acceptance and support also rises. I would use that trend to just to convincing for full support. Yeah, that was the last sentence. And thank you very much for that over hour.
Thank you so much.